How you doing, everybody? Hi, Geezer and Art and Kevin and Tom. Hey, Truth Fizz and Jeffrey. How you doing? Oh boy. Well, um, uh, I was looking at what was it? There's a watch by Crayon called the Everyday Watch. No, Everywhere Watch. The Everywhere Watch. And I was I was reading about it, and they said that it had let me see if I can get this and get it exactly what they said it was. Hang on a sec. Um, let me see here. They said, this is what they said that sort of got me thinking about it. It says, the Everywhere Watch does something quite remarkable. If you input your latitude and longitude and the correct date, the watch will show the correct times of sunrise and sunset, as well as the duration of daylight and nighttime hours anywhere in the world. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And what it reminded me of was the flight calculators. We used to have these round flight calculators that were used in flight planning. And so you'd get the wind speed and all of this other stuff to figure out a course and altitude and so on and so forth. Anyway, I thought, well, that thing looks like it has the complications of they call them flight computers. Actually, they're sort of like a round slide rule, and so I thought, that was sort of an interesting complication. Now, this Crayon Everywhere watch is the price that they had in the article about it was $600,000. The one I was looking at was bespoke, so it may be a little more than that or close to that. I don't know. Those are really expensive, and so I started thinking about complications. For the most part, I'm not a big complications fan, primarily because I'd never use it. This is my kind of watch. It's a 3-hand watch, center seconds. That's it. The most complicated watch I have is this. The most complicated looking is this Parmigiani hemisphere, and it's got dual time. Plus, it's got the date, and it has dual night-day indicators. And the thing that's nice about it is that if you go to some place like India, which is on a half-hour offset, you can change your little window up here or the one down here, and it's very easy to set once you get used to it. Of course, any complication is, but I was just sort of thought, well, what are some of the complications that we have, that we deal with? And I think that there are basically two complications in this respect. One is what we'll call a calculated one, and the complication will show you the date, or it'll show you the power reserve indicator, or the ones I like, the remontoir égalité, will have a little thing inside that will rewind and then flick the make sure that there's a constant force. Fusian chain is another one. And then there are the ones that, like this one, that will give you additional information on what you're up to. Or like you're probably the most common complication would be the, what's it called? Your chronograph. Anyway, I thought that might be an interesting topic we could kick around today. I don't see it as something I'd necessarily want to add to our watches, but it's one of those things. This is something else that I was looking at that I was interested in. This watch, I think some of you yesterday afternoon we talked about this, but I thought I'd bring it up. This watch is by a company in California called J.N. Shapiro, and they've got the this is from another watch, but this is the movement that they use. They use the the UWD 31.1 movement. And I hear some other images of it. Again, this is something I had yesterday afternoon. I thought you might find interesting. And they're all very simple watches. And the reason I bring it up, everything is on the dial. He sells these for $30,000. And so essentially you've got a $4,000 movement, and then that he puts into it, and then adds a I guess what, a $30,000 or $20,000 dial, $25,000 dial, something like that, and case. It's a gold case, and it was sort of interesting looking at it. It does a great job on it. I mean, and there's nothing about it that is not well done. I'll put it that way. $30,000 so for that, I don't know. I just thought that was a lot. Okay. Oh boy. Let's hang on a second, you guys. I don't want to be rude to anyone. David, how are you? Let me see. GMT Master, Art. Let's see. What are we doing here? Ian. Adam. Hi, Adam. Emmanuel. Dwayne. Let's see. ZL. Hi, ZL Jr. Let's see. Let's see. Where are we? Hi, Lee Jr. See again. Moonface. Yeah, Jeffrey, that is that's a moon phase. I have my moon phase. Every time I have it fixed, I break it just by setting it. I'm gonna see if there's some way, because I've been sending the thing back to Holland, and then once I get it fixed, it works fine. But then you have to reset it if it's not continually running. And okay, Mr. Gumby. Hi, Allie. What do you think of Rolex Skydweller? It's got some interesting complications that I wasn't aware of before on the Skydweller that were pretty cool. My favorite complication is still the, what's that called? Yachtmaster 2 with the countdown that they put in it. That's certainly. In trying to think, in German watches that I've been looking at, the complications, I don't remember any complications that were really very different from the ones you find in the Swiss. The Dutch company, Christian Vanderklaw, now they have a lot of astronomical ones, but probably one of the most interesting ones is the ones, I think it's Christian Vanderklaw did the complication for a watch, I think, that came out with, it was either Fabergé or Van Cleef and Arpels, and they won one of the awards on, I think it was on one of the most complicated, most interesting watches. But so anyway, that was. Okay, your collection is landing a world time. That's another one I got to get to, as a world timer. Hi, Manuel. How you doing? One thing I got. This came in the mail yesterday. This was recommended, and the thing was the reason it was recommended was that I didn't know how to take the back off of this, and so I used some Rodico putty, but apparently these sticky balls really work well for both. I don't know if you can see it moving, but it'll screw right off with that sticky ball. And it's a lot easier to use in Rodico putty, even though Rodico putty works. This is the funny thing about this. I just got it in the mail yesterday, and after it went through my wife's decontamination chamber that she has, I opened it up, and it comes with a needle. It comes with a ball needle. And so if you want to blow it up, usually I think for a sticky ball to work, you'd want it, slightly deflated so that, you can put it up against it and it'll work. but it's one of those tools that is deceptively useful. And by that I mean there's so many different things you can use it with. This thing right here for opening up the back of a watch works just fine. But the problem is that I often scratch the back, and I don't like to do that. With this, you're not going to scratch anything. I got this on Amazon. I forgot what it cost. It wasn't much, and it got here in pretty decent time. I have the Jeffrey. I have the JLC Master Geographic GMT Master. Love that watch. Yeah, so do I. That's a good watch. That's a nice one. I've been seeing so many different watches lately. I was looking at that Hodulance, and that's often, boy, I tell you, that's really tempting because I like the minutes and the way they have the retrograde minutes and the jumping hour. I don't know. It's very cool. On the other hand, if we finally hear from Agenor about the same complication, we could put one of those, and then I really wouldn't need the Hodulance. So, but the prices are going down, down, down on those, and for collectors, that'd probably be a good thing. Okay. Hey, Blaine, what are some complications that we may never see on a watch? I don't know. The thing is, where we might look, that would be an interesting thing, but it wouldn't really make too much sense. I was going to say on a smartwatch, but a smartwatch, it's so easy to put a complication in those. It's simply a matter of programming it, and plop it in there. With a mechanical watch, the ones to me that are the most interesting are the ones you never see, like the True Second on the Jaeger-LeCoultre. I was looking at one the other day, and they're around, the street price is around $7,500, and there aren't too many used ones. In fact, there aren't too many, period, that I've seen, out in the wild, so to speak. But the complication there is, to me, just brilliant, where you have a remontoire so you have a jumping second, and the thing rewinds and pops that second hand, and rewinds and pops that second hand, and that's going to be a very steady one. Now, the unfortunate part, if that aspect kicked the rest of the wheel train around and moved everything, then you'd have, I think, a true remontoire. But apparently, they're sort of like they live in two different villages. One is the gear train, and the other one is the second hand with their own little remontoire. But it's something. Hi, Mark. Mark, my God, man, I saw Mark there. I thought, it must be the afternoon. Hi, Mark. Hey, Dwayne, what's it? Violini Harbor halter deep space for complication. All watches he makes are awesome as an independent. I agree, Dwayne. I tell you, I haven't seen that much of his stuff lately. It seemed that in the early 2000s, he and FP Jorn and a bunch of other guys that are now like big established names were doing things. Vianney Halder, and I think it's Beat Halderman. Those guys have some amazing things. Hi, Tennessee. How you doing? Surely you need a proper case opening tool to loosen it before using the ball. Mr. Gumby, I don't know. I've got, it would be, yeah, I suppose that'd be nice, but this thing, even my Rodico putty, really tightened that thing up very well. This touches more part of the surface than one of these unscrewing tools does. I don't know. You might have a point. Let's see. Okay. All right. GMT as another complication. That one is. There are two kinds. Okay. There's the kind that have separate dials, like this one has two separate independently. Uh, they're independent, and then once you set the top one, it just sort of moves along with the bottom one. It's a really cool complication. And it's also, this is sort of a funny thing. It's got a great big fat um, covering on the back over the movement. And so the odd thing about it is that you can't see most of the movement. It's sort of like what I call an iceberg back on it. Most of the stuff is underneath this case. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but on the other hand, it does sort of look cool offset like that. Now this one, here's the complication I absolutely love, and this is the resonance. Okay, where you have two watches in one, and two barrels and two of everything else, and this little thing right here, this little puller, you pull that out and it syncs the two second hands. But look at this thing. I think I wound it about this time yesterday, something like that. Look at the second hands. They're totally synced. I synced them up to begin with, and same with the other two hands. That's resonance keeping out resonance. Sort of that's another kind of complication that's totally for the movement, to keep the movement going at a certain rate. The new one they have, it just kills me. They have a single barrel running two different mechanisms, and then they have the balances in resonance next to each other. But on top of that, they put a Ribbentrop Galate. My God, that watch is just amazing. Just really a wonderful watch. And that's really, I think, this one is from 2002. And I think the new one, that the 2020 version of it, is really the first major change that they've had in that watch, other than some relatively superficial ones on the dial. And of course, they had to change it from 12 to 24 hours. But that's another type of complications. And you dare not set it to a dual timer. Otherwise, that P journal gets you. Okay. Hey, Flippin' Zippo. Pablo. My collection has become small. That'll take out complications. Okie doke. What are some other complications that the watch we're looking at, the build? I wouldn't want any complications because of that. I wonder how difficult though it would be to have a power reserve indicator. For some reason, there aren't that many, and even in hand-wound watches. I can see it in an automatic, not really needing one that much, but I think a power reserve indicator is an important thing on it. On this one, you can see it up here. It's about halfway finished right now. And this is about a 2-day charge. This one is on a 7-day charge. And you can see the power reserve indicator. They're both hand wound, but you can see the power reserve indicator in the back. Oh, come on, doesn't want to come off. This is day 6 of a 7-day wind. Let's see if you can see it or not. Okay, where is it? Right there. Okay, and it's about, looks like about 2/3 the way finished. So it's gonna, and the time, it's 8:20 right now on my computer, and this has not been set for 6 days. Keeps perfect time. What Malon told me was that this watch was, when I asked him about how, it went for 9 days or whatever it does, he said simply after, if you have something for 7 days, by extending it, then you don't get the slowdown. The curve goes down after so many days. So what you want to do is you want to have it out for 8 or 9 days, and that way, when the curve starts going down, uh, you'll know to rewind it or reset it or something like that. But that's a complication. It's just a little thing, like a power reserve indicator. All my watches have power reserve indicators. When the watch stops, that indicates there's no power. that's that's that is. I think we have all of us have one of those. Um, I do any of you have automatics with power reserve indicators? The reason I'm asking is that is I guess it would tell you, maybe you're sitting down too long and a power reserve indicator is going down and says, you better get up and run around some. Which one do you prefer, Philippe Dufour, simplicity or duality? Simplicity. I mean, like, the duality is brilliant also, but I like the simplicity because I think in the simplicity, to me, represents almost a perfect watch. You have this precise craftsmanship from the beginning to the end. The duality is also brilliant. So one of those things that you would never complain no matter which one you had. For an engineer, that would be referred to as the logical solution. Yeah, I don't know engineers. I'll tell you, this is my engineer joke, okay? I love engineers. The guy that I used to fly with was an engineer, and he told me this joke. He said during the French terrors, when they were chopping everybody's head off, they brought up, there were I don't know, some royal, there was a priest and then an engineer. And so the first one, the royal, went up there and they to pull the string, and down comes the knife to cut off his head, but it didn't work. He went kick, and the thing went pop and stop. And so they said, "Well, that must be a sign from God that you're to be spared." So the old royal, they took him off and told him to go home. So then they bring up the priest, and they did the same thing, and whoop, right before it got to chop his head off, it stopped. So up comes the engineer, and he looks at the guillotine and says, if you turn that little screw just a little, you wouldn't have that problem. That's my engineer joke. Okay, love engineers though. Okay, I actually only have one power reserve indicator, and that's my JLC Futurematic. How's your center's second named in the box? Endeavor or Monard? Monard, is that it? It's not. There's no name. It's probably a Monard, though, would be my guess. This is the one that Mark is asking about. Originally, they were called Monards, and then they changed it to Endeavor and became part of the Endeavor line. But this is like one of the older ones, which I absolutely love to wear. They in the documentation in the box that it came in, because I got it, it was new old stock. It was referred to as a Monard. I thought I got an Endeavor. Okay, what's going on? ZL, the Nomos power reserve indicator is pretty cool. Oh, I agree. Have you guys seen the power reserve indicator on the Nomos? It's this little round window, and it's got I think it turns to orange or black to orange or something like that, and you can just see it sort of fill up. I agree. That is a very cool one. On a hand wound movement, easy to prevent accidentally overwinding. Now, this may be wrong, and anybody who wants to step up and correct me, be my guest. Kevin, though, I heard that a good watch, I don't think you can overwind. If you wind them all up until it stops winding, that's when you stop. But it won't overwind it. But that was my information from, I found it on the internet, so it must be right. I don't know. I think you can overwind some watches. I think I overwound, oddly enough, my Wang and Hein. Did it one too much, and something in the click or somewhere, something got stuck, and it stopped. And so I took it to my 84-year-old watchmaker, and he went bippity boppity boo and fixed it without even opening it up. So it was me, not the watch. How do you tell an introvert engineer from an extrovert engineer? The introvert looks at his shoes when he talks to you. The extrovert looks at your shoes. I love engineers. They have a certain way of looking at the world, and I worked with a lot of computer engineers too. And when I wanted to do a deep dive into my computer innards, they'd always help. I used to, not only have I broken a lot of movements, I've broken computers too. So you get to the hardware part. My new Moser small seconds is NOS Mayu. Yeah, Jeffrey. Yeah, they are such good deals and really good watches. So they're not going to be around too long, and that's okay with me because I have no intention of. This is, none of my watches I really buy with an intention of selling. There are a couple deals on this one, on the 730. I call it a 736, and now that I have two of them in my collection, I'm always looking for a third, and I found one that it has a moon phase and a power reserve indicator, and it's the same 736 movement. I'd love to take it apart and see how they did it. Of course, I'd break it, so I won't do that, and I don't have it anyway. I think most watches, decent ones, slip after they are wound. Yeah, I tell you, my Bovet does. That thing's got a 7-day wind, like that, and then it starts slipping, or it feels that way. And so I think that's basically telling me, hey, it's all wound up. Plus, it's got a power reserve indicator right there, and you can see it. And, so you can tell when it's all wound up. Do you insure your watches? Well, I'm probably overdue to update my my homeowner's insurance, and it would be part of the homeowner's insurance that I would add it to. The thing of it is, here's the problem, and especially the way I look at things. I don't know how I could insure, for example, something like this. All right. This watch is one I like so much that it would be very hard. I know if I insured it for its full value, instead of getting the new value on it, which is, from what I've seen, is about $65,000, they'd give me whatever some bean counter decided that this was worth. And I don't know how they do that. So my insurance is more with using the vault at the bank. If I go somewhere, I'm not around, off to the vault they go. And I've got some other goodies going for me. after repairing the fence that the bears broke through again, that's a big insurance that I have. I don't know. I live in a really safe, low crime neighborhood, and there's a gun club about a mile up the road. I don't think anybody wants to come near this place. Besides, we're not especially rich, so I don't know. I think that it's hard to insure watches for what they're worth to you. Most people do, so don't listen to me. I have my own ideas about insurance, and there are other ways to insure it other than going to my insurance company. But like I said, don't listen to me. I take really good care of my watches, and like I said, I use the bank vault if I'm going to go anywhere. We'll go overnight up to Boston or over to New York or something, and then I'm off to the vault, and so there's nothing here to steal. What would be lost, though, because this I don't take to the vault, my $200 uh, regulator, perpetual regulator. Well, this guys, anyhow, I just thought hey now, Shed, how you doing? I gotta go, and so everybody take care. And if you're around this afternoon, drop on by.